Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, we're going to do another Bytes and Nibbles segment today. What we're going to do today is we're going to prepare a pot roast in the Instant Pot. Let's look at the ingredients. Here's what we need for our pot roast. First off, obviously, 3 pounds of beef chuck roast, some garlic, some carrots, some celery, an onion, 4 potatoes, some olive oil, some beef broth, a little red wine, some steak sauce, and salt and pepper to taste. Let's get going. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my olive oil into the Instant Pot. The recipe actually calls for about 2 tablespoons, but since I have a larger Instant Pot, I'm going to use a little bit more. Basically, this is just to lubricate the bottom of the pot, so I'm going to probably use 3 or 4 tablespoons. Just kind of eyeball it, and then we're going to put the Instant Pot into saute mode. We're going to let the oil heat up. Now that my oil's heated up, I am going to put the chuck roast in the Instant Pot, and we are going to brown it on each side for a couple minutes until it's nice and brown. We'll come back to that in a couple minutes. Alright, I've browned my meat on both sides. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it out and we're going to put this aside for a few minutes. I'm just going to put it on a plate here, and we'll come back to this for in a few minutes because we got to deal with the rest of this. Alright, now that I got the meat out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in my beef broth. And I'm just going to use this spatula here to kind of what they call deglaze the pot. I just want to get all the brown bits off there because that's actually going to add to the flavor. And once we're done with that, we're going to pour in our red wine and some of our vegetables, and that will look a little something like this. Now while I was preparing the meat, I actually chopped up my vegetables. So I peeled the potatoes and cut them up into about eighths, and cut the carrots up into about 1-inch slices, and also cut up the celery. So in goes the red wine. And the vegetables, which are all here. This is the potatoes, the carrots, and the celery. And just I'm going to kind of mix this all, kind of get it all nice and flat in here. Or at least as flat as I can. Next I'm going to pour in my onions, which are going to go on the top. Trying to do this with one hand, so you'll have to forgive me here. It isn't quite as graceful as it will be when you do it yourself, because you won't be holding the camera when you do it. And then we're going to pour in the garlic over the top of that. Now the recipe calls for about 3 cloves of garlic. I actually like garlic, so I'm putting a lot of garlic in here. And that's fine. That's all kind of done to taste. Now next I'm going to put the beef right on top of the whole mixture here. We're going to soak this a little bit with salt and pepper, about a teaspoon of salt, and or half a teaspoon of salt, and about a teaspoon of pepper. And it's going to give it a nice little bit of flavor. And then finally, we are going to put a little A1 steak sauce on here. Should have the, sorry, got to tip the camera a little bit. Had to use my other hand to get the cap off. So I'm just going to kind of coat that. It actually says about 3 tablespoons, but once again I'm going to use a little bit more. And I got a little basting brush, and we're just going to kind of cover everything, get a nice coating on the top of it, and that should be pretty good. Now it doesn't have to be A1 sauce. If you got some other steak sauce you like, that will work too. But it's A1 that I have, so that's what I'm going to use. And next I'm going to put the lid on, I've already canceled the saute mode because you want to do that because we're going to start over from 0 here. I'm going to put it in pressure cook. Some Instant Pots say manual, mine says pressure cook. We're going to do high pressure, so it's already set to that, and we're going to cook it for 45 minutes. Catch up with you in 45 minutes. Alright, so 45 minutes have gone by, and I know we've talked about this a little bit, but there's different types of vent methods on this thing. You have your natural release and your quick release. Your quick release is when you push the button on the top and it releases the pressure immediately. But the natural release is basically when the cooking is done, the Instant Pot will kind of slowly drain the pressure over time. It depends on how much liquid is in there, but it may be anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour depending on what's in there. And on this particular case, we are going to naturally release for about 15 minutes, and then we'll push the little pink button and release the rest of the pressure. So I'll see you in about 15 minutes. Alright, another 15 minutes have passed and we've completed our slow release. Now we're going to quick release the rest of the pressure by pressing the quick release button. Now once again, and I'm going to say this on every single video, stay away from this, stay away from that, because that's where the heat comes out. And when the little pink button is dropped, pressure's been safely released, and we can open the lid. And once again, you want to kind of watch out when you first break the lid because there's going to be a lot of steam in there. And so watch out for the condensation. Just make sure you keep the lid over there till all the condensation pours back in. That looks pretty yummy, huh? Alright, we're going to let this cool off for just a moment, and we're going to take the meat out. We're going to cut it into slices, and then we'll serve it with the gravy and the veggies. Alright, so I pulled the meat out and put it on a cutting board, and basically right now I'm going to cut it into slices, and at that point the meat will be put on the plate, and we'll put some of the gravy over the top of it, and this should be ready to go. Alright, I got the meat all cut up. I gotta admit, this meat is really, really tender. It almost just dissolved under the knife, so I suspect that this is going to be really good. Let's dish this up and give it its taste test. Oh yeah, that looks good. Let's try this out. Alright, let's give this thing its taste test here. Meat's kind of buried a little bit, so I'm having to dig for it a bit, but that's alright. I put the meat on the plate first, and then veggies and all the sauce over the top of that. So let's try this out. Yeah, that's pretty good. I was a little concerned that I'm not really a red wine fan, and I thought that that might kind of ruin the sauce a little bit. There's just a very, very slight taste to the red wine. It isn't distracting at all. So it turned out pretty good. I'm really kind of pleased with it. Yeah, definitely. This is a good one. Definitely recommend this one. It's got good beef flavor. I might put a little bit more beef in it this time. The recipe actually calls for about 3 pounds of the ground chuck, or of the chuck roast, and I couldn't find more than about 2.5 pound chunks. So probably might go with a little bit more this time, next time if I did it again. I also kind of doubled halved again the red wine and the beef broth, just because I have a larger Instant Pot, and I thought that might be an issue. Don't think it really turned out to be an issue, but I probably got a little bit more gravy than I would need. So definitely a winner. I would definitely try this one again. I'll put the recipe down below in the description, and check it out if you like. Other than that, I think that is the end of today's video. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Bon appetit!